respected audience. Let me tell you something that many people struggle to understand. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. You sit there wondering, if he misses me, why doesn't he call? If he thinks about me, why doesn't he reach out? If he truly cares, why is he acting like he doesn't? And those questions can keep you awake at night because your heart is searching for answers that his actions are not giving you. But here is the truth. A person can crave your presence and still choose silence. Not because you are not valuable, not because you are not enough, but because human emotions are complicated. Sometimes people stay quiet because they are confused, afraid, proud, immature, or trying to understand what they really want. Many people make the mistake of measuring their worth by someone else's attention. They think, if he texts me, I matter. If he chases me, I am important. If he comes back, I am valuable. But your value was never created by someone's message. Your worth existed before they noticed you, and it will remain even if they walk away. Sometimes silence reveals more about the person who is silent than the person waiting. A man may miss your energy, your kindness, your loyalty, and the way you made him feel, but missing someone does not always mean someone is ready to change. Desire and commitment are two different things. Someone can want you but still not have the maturity to treat you the way you deserve. The shocking truth is that sometimes people become silent because they believe you will always be there. They become comfortable with your effort. They assume you will send the first message, make the first apology, and keep the connection alive. But when you stop chasing and start focusing on yourself, they are forced to see the value they took for granted. Never beg someone to recognize your importance. The right person does not need to lose you completely to understand your worth. Your job is not to convince someone to choose you. Your job is to become so confident, so focused, and so complete that anyone who wants a place in your life must come with genuine effort. Silence can hurt, but it can also teach you. It can teach you patience. It can teach you self-respect. It can teach you that love is not about running after someone who is running away. Real love requires two people who are willing to show up. So if he is silent, do not immediately assume you are forgotten, but also do not pause your life waiting for someone who is not making an effort. Keep growing, keep improving, keep becoming the best version of yourself. Because sometimes the biggest message you can send is not a text, not an explanation, and not a goodbye. It is your transformation. Silence is one of the most confusing things we experience in relationships because our minds naturally try to fill the empty space with assumptions. When someone stops calling, stops texting, or becomes distant, the first thought that often comes is, they must not care anymore. But the reality is much more complicated. A person's silence does not always mean a lack of feelings. Sometimes silence is a reflection of what is happening inside that person rather than a reflection of how they feel about you. There are moments when someone misses you but chooses not to reach out. They may be fighting with their own emotions, trying to understand what they want, or struggling with pride. Some people find it difficult to admit that they miss someone because reaching out requires vulnerability. It means accepting that they care, that they are affected, and that they might have to face a conversation they are not prepared for. Sometimes people become silent because they are afraid of rejection. They may wonder, what if I contact them and they don't respond the way I hope? Fear can make people do things that seem confusing from the outside. A person may think about you, remember the moments you shared, and still remain quiet because their fear is stronger than their desire to communicate. Another reason someone may stay silent is because they are trying to protect their pride. Many people struggle with taking the first step because they believe reaching out makes them look weak. They may want to talk, but their ego tells them to wait. They may convince themselves that staying quiet is easier than admitting they miss you. However, it is important to understand that silence is not always a sign of deep feelings either. While someone can be silent because they care, someone can also be silent because they are choosing distance. This is why actions matter more than assumptions. A person's feelings are shown through consistency, respect, and effort over time. The lesson is not to chase someone simply because you believe they might miss you. The lesson is to understand that another person's silence should not make you question your own worth. If someone truly values your presence, eventually their actions will speak louder than their silence. They will find a way to communicate, make an effort, and show that they want you in their life. Sometimes giving someone space allows them to recognize what they had. When you stop constantly reaching out and start focusing on yourself, you create room for clarity. They may realize your importance, or you may realize that you deserve someone who does not leave you constantly wondering where you stand. A person's silence can reveal many things, but the most important thing it should reveal is your own strength. Instead of letting silence break your confidence, use that time to grow, improve, and become more connected with your own purpose. The right person will not only miss you when you are gone, they will value you when you are present. A person can crave someone deeply and still not be ready for them. This is one of the hardest truths to accept because many people believe that strong feelings automatically lead to strong actions. They think, if he really wants me, he will do everything possible to be with me. But emotions and readiness are two completely different things. Someone can miss your voice, think about your memories together, feel your absence, and still not have the maturity or willingness to build the relationship you deserve. Wanting someone is an emotional response. It is about attraction, connection, memories, and the way that person makes you feel. But being ready for someone requires much more. It requires responsibility, communication, consistency, and the ability to make choices that support a healthy relationship. A person may desire your presence but still struggle with commitment, emotional growth, or the courage needed to show up fully. Many people confuse attention with intention. Someone may return because they miss the comfort you provided, the way you supported them, or the happiness they felt around you. But missing what you gave them is not always the same as being prepared to give you what you need. A person can crave your love but still not understand how to protect it. Sometimes people stay away because they know they are not ready to become the person you need. They may recognize your value but also recognize their own weaknesses. They may know that coming back without changing would only repeat the same problems. In those moments, silence may come from confusion or personal struggles rather than a lack of feelings. However, feelings alone cannot create a strong relationship. Love requires action. A person who truly wants a meaningful place in your life must be willing to communicate, make sacrifices, and show consistency. Words like, "I miss you" or "I can't stop thinking about you" may sound powerful, but without effort behind them, they remain only emotions. This is why you should never measure someone's love only by how much they crave you. Measure it by how they treat you. Do they respect your feelings? Do they make time for you? Do they bring peace into your life? Do they take responsibility when things go wrong? These actions reveal whether someone is simply attracted to you or genuinely prepared to build something with you. The most powerful thing you can do is stop trying to convince someone to choose you. When you focus on your own growth, confidence, and happiness, you create a life that does not depend on someone else's decision. If they truly value you, they will recognize that your presence is something special. But if they are not ready, you will have the strength to understand that their inability to choose you does not reduce your worth. A person's desire for you may bring them back, but their maturity and actions determine whether they can stay. The difference between someone who only craves you and someone who truly values you is the willingness to show up, not just the feeling of missing you. When you stop chasing someone and begin focusing on yourself, something powerful happens. People often start seeing your value in a completely different way. Many times, when someone knows they can always reach you, they become comfortable with your presence. They may start taking your effort, your kindness, and your attention for granted because they believe you will always be there. But when you step back and stop giving unlimited access to your energy, they are forced to recognize what your presence truly meant. People often understand the importance of something after they experience its absence. When you were always available, they may not have noticed the little things you brought into their life. They may not have appreciated your support, your patience, your encouragement, or the peace you gave them. Your constant effort became normal to them. But when that effort disappears, they begin to notice the difference. The silence you create by stepping back can become a mirror that shows them what they lost. However, the purpose of creating distance should never be to manipulate someone or make them suffer. The real power comes from choosing yourself. When you stop chasing, you are not playing a game. You're protecting your peace. You're saying, "I deserve a connection where effort comes from both sides." I deserve to be valued without having to beg for attention. This change in mindset transforms the way you carry yourself. Confidence is attractive because it shows that your happiness does not depend on another person's approval. When someone sees that you are still growing, smiling, and building your life without constantly seeking their attention, they may begin to look at you differently. They realize that your world does not stop because they are absent. That realization can create respect because they see that you have your own strength and identity. Many people make the mistake of trying harder when they feel someone pulling away. They send more messages, explain themselves repeatedly, and try to prove why they should be chosen. But sometimes the more you chase, the more you create an imbalance. One person gives everything while the other person receives everything without needing to make an effort. A healthy relationship cannot grow from one person constantly trying to earn love. When you step back, you give the other person the opportunity to make a choice. They can either recognize your value and put in genuine effort, or they can continue walking away. Either outcome gives you clarity. You no longer have to live in confusion, constantly wondering where you stand. Your absence can reveal your value, but the greatest discovery is often the value you find within yourself. You begin to realize that you are not defined by someone's attention, messages, or approval. You become more focused on your goals, your happiness, and your personal growth. And when you become the best version of yourself, you naturally attract people who appreciate and respect what you bring into their life. One of the most important lessons in relationships is understanding that your happiness should never be controlled by someone else's attention, actions, or silence. When you allow another person's behavior to decide how you feel about yourself, you give them power over your peace. One day they make you feel loved because they call you, and the next day you feel lost because they become distant. Living in that emotional cycle can make you forget the most important person in your life, yourself. Many people spend too much time trying to understand why someone is silent, why they changed, or why they are not showing the same effort anymore. They replay conversations in their minds, search for hidden meanings, and constantly look for signs that the other person still cares. But the more you focus on someone else's actions, the more you lose connection with your own needs and happiness. Your life should not be placed on hold while waiting for someone to decide your value. A person's silence, distance, or lack of effort does not determine your worth. Someone failing to recognize your importance does not mean you are not important. Sometimes people are unable to appreciate what they have because of their own limitations, their own choices, or their own lack of emotional understanding. Your value exists whether someone notices it or not. The strongest people are not those who never feel hurt. The strongest people are those who feel the pain but choose not to let it destroy their confidence. They understand that disappointment is a part of life, but losing themselves while trying to hold on to someone else is not the answer. They choose growth over desperation and peace over constant worry. When you focus on yourself, you begin to rebuild your confidence. You start investing your energy into your goals, your dreams, your health, your friendships, and your personal development. Instead of asking, why isn't he choosing me? You begin asking, am I choosing myself? That question changes everything because it shifts your attention from seeking approval to building a life you are proud of. A person who truly belongs in your life will not require you to constantly prove your worth. They will appreciate your presence, respect your feelings, and make an effort to maintain the connection. Love should not feel like a competition where you are always trying to convince someone that you are valuable. Real connection comes when two people willingly choose each other. Sometimes the greatest lesson someone's silence can teach you is that your happiness cannot depend on whether they return. If they come back, they should find a person who has grown stronger, not someone who has been waiting in pain. And if they do not come back, you should still have a life filled with purpose, confidence, and self-respect. Your peace is something you must protect. Do not allow someone's absence to make you forget your own presence. Do not allow someone's silence to make you question your own voice. The moment you realize that your happiness comes from within, you become free from the fear of losing someone who was never meant to control your destiny.